This is a true story from the United States, a story of an ordinary man whose name never became famous, but whose actions saved lives. In the year 2001, America was known as the land of dreams. Tall buildings, fast lives, and millions of people chasing a better future. In a small city in Ohio lived a man named David Miller. David was 38 years old. He was not rich. He was not powerful. He was a delivery truck driver. Every morning at 5 a.m., David left his house for work and returned late in the evening. His life was simple. David was married to Emma Miller, a kind woman who worked as a school teacher. They had been married for 10 years, but they had no children. Still, they were happy together. David had one unusual habit. Every Friday after finishing work, he stopped near an old post office in the city. There, an elderly woman named Margaret sat quietly on a bench. She always held a letter in her hands. One day, David finally asked her, "Why don't you mail that letter?" The old woman smiled sadly and replied, "Because the person this letter is for may no longer be alive." David was silent. Margaret explained that her son James had gone to the Vietnam War. In 1972, she received his last letter. After that, nothing. No body, no confirmation, no goodbye. Since then, Margaret wrote a new letter every week, believing that maybe, somewhere, her son could still read them. David listened carefully. That story stayed in his heart.
September 11th, 2001. That morning, David left home like every other day. Emma said, "Come home early today. I cooked your favorite food." David smiled and replied, "I will. See you tonight." But that night never came. David had a delivery job in New York City that day. When the first plane hit the World Trade Center, David was only a few blocks away. People were screaming, running. Smoke filled the air. David ran toward a nearby building where people were trapped. He was not a firefighter. He was not trained for rescue. But he didn't stop. He helped injured people walk outside. He carried those who couldn't move. A woman was crying for her child. David found the child, lifted him in his arms, and reunited him with his mother. When the second tower was about to collapse, people shouted, "Run! Get out now!" David looked back at the building and went inside again. That was the last time anyone saw him. The silence after. Days passed. Weeks passed. Months passed. Emma received an official letter. "Your husband is missing and presumed dead." There was no body, no vadabe, only silence. Emma was heartbroken, but she stayed strong. One afternoon, she went to the same old post office. Margaret was sitting there again, holding another letter. Emma sat beside her, and they shared their stories. Margaret said softly, "My son never had a funeral either." Emma replied with tears in her eyes, "Maybe some people come into this world not to be saved, but to save others." The truth revealed. In 2004, a rescue worker contacted Emma. He said that on September 11th, there was a man who kept going back inside the burning building. No uniform, no safety gear. That man helped at least 18 people escape alive. When someone asked his name, he replied, "My name doesn't matter." That man was David Miller. The letter. One day, Emma visited Margaret's home. Margaret was very weak now. Emma gently said, "I think it's time to send your letter." Margaret asked, "Where?" Emma answered, "To the National Memorial for those who never returned, but saved others." With shaking hands, Margaret placed the letter into an envelope. That letter is now preserved in the 9/11 Memorial Archives. Ending. Some heroes are never written in history books, but they live forever in human hearts. David Miller never tried to be a hero. He was just a man who chose courage. And sometimes, that is the greatest hero of all.